The earth can either be a prison or a playground.
It's your
right?
choice.
It's your choice. Like, are you going to
choice.
make it a prison or a playground,
Yes.
right?
It's how you choose to deal with what happens
Right.
that's in your control.
Right.
And so that's what I've learned, how to navigate.
Hello, beautiful souls. Welcome to the Art of Being, a sacred space where we dive into spirituality, healing, manifestation, and all the magic of becoming.
We explore what it means to truly live, to grow, to heal, and to be in this ever-evolving dance between our humanness and our higher selves.
I am Bamzi, a mindset and manifestation coach.
And I'm Joy, a wellness coach. We're so glad you're here. Take a deep breath, settle in, and let's journey together.
How was your week?
It was amazing. A mix of things, both amazing and not so amazing. But that's life, eh?
Yeah, what was amazing and what was not amazing?
Amazing because I got to accomplish a lot of things that I wanted that were on my to-do list. Not amazing because then it was a lot of hassle to do it, to get it done. So there wasn't a lot of free time in between. I was also going through a few things emotionally and processing. So having to go through like the day-to-day life and still be processing things internally, I mean, that was difficult.
It's a lot. When you're handling both.
Yeah, but now that I'm at the end of it, I feel like such a badass.
Isn't
like
that always the case? That's
Yeah.
always the case where it's like, it's hard when you're going through it. And when you come out of it, you're like, contrast. High contrast.
That was actually amazing.
Thank you, contrast. Isn't that so funny?
I mean, I don't want to do it again,
Exactly.
but wow.
It always happens to me where like I'm facing contrast and I'm like, oh my gosh, oh my gosh, what is happening? Oh my gosh, so painful. And I'm like, I know I'm going through the journey. It's about the journey. I'm experiencing the pain and what is happening. And then when I come out of it, I'm like, hi, contrast. Thank you so much for like, I was releasing something because that's what's happening, right?
That's true.
And it's like, we hate contrast so much because it's not comfortable going through it. It's not, it's not pleasant to be experiencing heavy emotions, to be like, just in the depths of it, right? But when you're in the depths of it and you're feeling and you're releasing, right? And then there's reason why you feel lighter at the end of it is because you've released something that you needed to release, even though it's not easy.
It feels great at the end of it, but when you're going through it, it's the most difficult thing. I mean, we were having a conversation earlier and I was telling you, like, once I transition onto the other side, I'm going to have like a little sit down and pep talk with my soul and be like, girl, we're not doing this in the next lifetime.
Yeah, you
like
say
when
that.
You're picking and choosing.
You know what? You probably said that so many times because how many times have you reincarnated? We don't know, right?
We don't know.
But we've probably said that. Yeah. You probably experienced other lifetimes where you were. The reason why, like, you are a wise soul. You and I are both old souls. I fully identify as an old soul.
Yeah.
The reason why is because we've experienced other lifetimes where, like, we've gone through other journeys, and even though like there's nothing as like past life, everything is happening around the same time. But we've lived multiple times, right?
That's true.
And then this current reality, we've like expanded in order for us to be able to embody this type of expansion, right? And we've probably said that in our past lives or in our parallel lives. We've said that, like, I don't want to do this
agree
anymore.
100%. But then I've already set my intention that my next lifetime is going to be a vacation. So I'm coming back for a vacation and everything is going to be sunshine and rainbows.
Have you ever heard of like, I've definitely heard of the idea that you can choose a lifetime where it's just it's like smooth and easy, where you are like kind of resting and things just
it's a resting
easy.
life basically. And I have set my intention that the next one is going to be that.
How do I do that? How do I set the
basically
intention?
come in and I'm resting, I'm not awakening, I'm not, raising my consciousness or assisting Gaia in her awakening. I'm basically
You've already
just
served.
here.
What you're basically saying is like you've served your role.
I have served my role.
People awaken.
Yes.
You've done your job.
Yeah, now I want
you
the
need
rewards.
to rest. Yeah.
I need to rest. I need to come in, have like a nice easy peasy life, not corporate life or being in in the rat race.
Well,
It's
what
like
would you do? Just like
born into a wealthy family. I mean, I'd still be doing things. But
like
then
what? Like what would that look like?
Philanthropy, charity, running my own business. But I have enough money.
Are you a wife?
I'm not really worried.
Where, like your husband was providing.
Well,
your family is wealthy.
Yes, I'm like in a wealthy family, and I probably run a business, but then I'm not worried about the profit. I do it for the passion and for the love, you know. And I think I'd
You've really thought of this. Is very specific. This is really specific. I've heard of that idea that like there are some souls that are having like an easier, like that is thing they chose.
It's what they've chosen
to have like a smoother life, and that's why like sometimes you would look at your journey and look at others, and you're like, why do they have it so easy? Right? I've heard of that idea, but I've never thought of like, oh hey, that's what I want to do, like
for the next one,
you know, whatever. But you've really thought about it.
I have thought it through, and you know, we've had some agreements done, I'm sure, and you know. I don't know, but when I go back, I'm going to enforce it. Like, sign here, everybody's spirit guides, please sign. And
you want to make sure it's signed.
I want to make sure. No, signed and sealed, and that's what we're experiencing.
Would you want to come back to Kenya, or like you haven't figured out those details?
I haven't figured out the details yet. But probably somewhere tropical, like on an island. You know, tropical vibes. Just tropical resting, sunshine, coconut water every day.
No, like maybe the Caribbean or something.
Probably the Caribbean.
Oh, Greece. You know, I would love to experience a lifetime. Or maybe I have. We don't know. Have you ever done a past life regression?
I have not. Like not yet. No past life regression. Although I would love to do one. Yes. But I haven't really like looked into it.
But you've heard of Dolores Cannon, right? We've talked about it a little bit.
Yes, I've read all of her books. And you know, she does, I think, is it QHT?
Yes.
Yeah, quantum regression something. And I love her work, and I know how she goes into the subconscious mind, and it can go back into either past lifetimes or even a future lifetime, because we're experiencing it all. They're parallel at the same time. I haven't had one. I would love to have that experience, but not yet. Have you?
I haven't, but I've been thinking about it. I've been thinking about doing one, and just like understanding like what is, because there's some things in this lifetime you probably wonder like, why am I struggling with this, like what is happening? Some of those lessons that you're learning, some of it are from like a parallel lifetime where like maybe you died, but you hadn't overcome that lesson, you haven't embodied that lesson, and now you're having to embody it in this lifetime. And sometimes it's hard, you don't understand like, okay, where's this coming from? Some things, like I was watching this woman, she's a hypnotherapist in Kenya, and she had a client who used to have a sore throat, like, and he didn't understand like, where is this even coming from? Like, where is it coming from? Like, it didn't make sense that it wouldn't go away. Like, it was there for like a really long time, and then he eventually, I don't know how he found out about hypnotherapy, and so he went to a hypnotherapist, and they found out that he was killed through like by being daggered on the throat. Right, that's how he died in like another lifetime, and that is why that sore throat was like showing up in this lifetime. So he's
here to heal that.
Like, so for him, like it's not like a spiritual thing necessarily, but like in terms of physical, like why is this sore throat showing up? It doesn't have to be spiritual sometimes. It can just be something physical, like where like you brought it into this lifetime. So he had that. He had died like that, and that is why like he was struggling with the sore throat, and he was, after they found, he was able to heal completely, and the sore throat kind of went away.
That would be my intention. If I was to have a past life regression, I'd look at what am I really struggling with right now, and I'd want to go back, not just to understand why it's happening, but I'd actually want to go back in that moment in time, because when you're going back, it's sort of like your future self visiting a past self. And it's when people say an angel visited me and this happened, it's basically basically your enlightened future self visiting you. And I'd love to go back, and if there's something traumatic that happened, reassure, heal it, and then come back, because then when I come back in the present moment, it's been healed. So I wouldn't just want to go back for information and like, oh, this happened and that's why this is. I'd really, take an assessment of what's happening with me, what am I struggling with, what's the root cause of this, and then I'd go back and sort of like do my best to heal it, whether that's by reassuring, so then when I do come back into the present moment, it's healed. I don't just have an understanding, I've basically collapsed that.
But because that's what happened in hypnotherapy. It's not even like you're going back to see, like, this is during the session, right? She's asking you questions, and part of, because I've done it's not a past life, but I've done a child regression. Right? Because it's the same thing where, like, it puts you in that moment in time. Like when she put me under in that child regression, in terms of like putting you, it's not like you're seeing yourself and you have a recollection of your images of your child. Emotionally, it's an emotional thing happening. It puts me in that space and time, and I'm experiencing the same emotions that the child was experiencing at the time when she was hurt. And since I'm feeling the emotions and I'm in that space, she's able to tell me, like, okay, as adult you, me Bamzi, as adult you, what would you do? Like, if you're standing and seeing that child being hurt,
what would you do?
What are you going to do? You enter as adult you take the child away. Literally, she had me do this. I'm not kidding.
That's amazing.
She's like, okay, Bamzi, what are you going to do? You're seeing like child you is being hurt. So what are you going to do? So you take the child away. In the beginning, I actually didn't know like what I needed to do, and she sometimes has to guide you. She was like, you take the child away, you go and hug the child and tell them you're safe. I'm so sorry that happened to you. I'm so sorry. You hug them, you tell them you're there with them, you love them, whatever. We did all of that. And some of that is like, then you like scream to the pillow, you're punching, whatever. And as adult, you can even picture yourself maybe even slapping the person that was hurting the child. She literally had me do this. I'm not the type of person who's like confrontational, like I'm gonna slap somebody. So it was like not something as me that I would do, but she was like, you're saving your child. Like, what are you gonna do to to that person hurting the child?
And so you end up healing that. And when you heal the past, you heal the future, the present and the future.
I cried so much in that session. I had no idea that I was gonna cry. And in fact, like I had shared this experience with other people that I was hurt as a child. Like I had told other people, like friends and whatever, but when I was sharing, I'm sharing as an adult me. I'm not sharing as the child who's feeling the emotion. So I wasn't feeling the emotions as I was sharing. I was just like telling them as if like I'm not even experiencing the hurt. And I even remember there was maybe 2018, towards the end of 2018, I was seeing like a counselor in grad school. She was helping me manage anxiety, and I was telling her that this happened to me as a child, but I was telling her like it didn't affect me, and she's like, are you sure?
Of course it did. You just weren't aware, or you didn't, or you probably placed it like on the back burner.
Exactly.
I'm gonna deal with it
because I'm looking at it as adult me, but the child me is still within me, and it's still hurt. So my hypnotherapist was like, okay, I didn't realize that I was going to experience a lot of those emotions. And so when I went, and I cried so much in that session because I released a lot. I was able to hug my inner child, tell her that I love her, that I'm here with her and whatever, all of that. So I healed. When I came out of that session, I had released this huge thing that had happened. And that is the same thing you were talking about. Like when you go back, when you're put under, it's not like, oh, I want to understand. It's like you're understanding. But then in that session, like, what are you doing? Like, you're healing.
What are you doing to heal it?
Yes.
And I love that so much. And I would want to try past life regression. But what I'm noticing nowadays is as the consciousness is raising, as people are becoming more enlightened and aware, have you seen this trend on social media where people are like, I took my younger self out to breakfast, or to dinner, or to lunch. And then like they go and they journal and they sit down with their younger self. Of course, there's, it's an internal process. And they say, oh, this happened, but look where we are now. And I've told her about everything that we've overcome, and we've been able to get to this. They're basically doing it for themselves.
I do it all the time.
a regression.
I do it all the time.
Yeah, and it's not spiritual for them, but they actually are doing it. It is spiritual.
It is, but they don't see it as
they're not doing it consciously.
Yeah.
But I would say they are. It's just that they're not viewing it from a lens of this is a spiritual thing that I'm doing,
that I'm healing.
Yes, and when you look around at what's happening, you can tell that the consciousness has really raised.
Yes,
because people are able to do these things, not necessarily put a label or a mark on it that this is what I'm doing.
But if you look
keenly, that's what they're doing.
Yeah, they're still doing it.
Isn't that amazing?
I do it all the time. In fact, even last week I did one. Like, it's from time to time I go and like I tell my inner child, like, oh my gosh, like we're doing so amazing.
Exactly.
Like, I know that where you are right now, you don't understand like how your life is gonna turn out, and I know that you're experiencing like a lot of these things, but I'm telling you. And I tell her like all the things that I've experienced, and I tell her all the things we've had. I call it we, not I. Like, hey,
because there's multiple versions of you in there.
Yes, I tell her like we've done this, we've have this. Like, can you imagine?
Yeah.
Can you imagine having this? She's like, what? That is a thing? Yeah. I'm like, yes, it's a thing. We have a lot of these things, and so you are okay. Like, I just reassure her.
Yeah.
Because we're like, everything happens in the now. That
it
inner
is in
child
the
is
now.
existing
It
in
is
the
in
now.
the now. Yeah.
And I think that's what a lot of us don't understand, that it's not, there's no past, present, and future. Like, everything is happening in the now. Right?
Yeah.
So it's like you can tap into that in the now, because it's happening.
Yeah.
And tell the inner child like you're okay. You're doing
okay.
amazing.
You're fine. Yeah. I've done it a lot too. I've done a lot with the inner child, and for me, basically, what I do, it's very similar to yours, but I go back in terms of, I've told you now, I mean, I love fashion, I love dressing up. And when I was growing up, I mean, I came from a very humble background, so we didn't have much. And a lot of times I didn't have shoes, I didn't have the right dresses, so every time I go back now, there was this little cute white dress that I wanted to wear and matching white shoes. And as a way I wanted to do my hair.
You've always been a Libra, let's be honest. Like, as well as you're Libra, has always been showing.
Me. And I picture me going back, and she has the dress that she wants, and she has the shoes that she wants, because all the other girls around me had this. And when we go to church on Sundays, I didn't and they did. And I go back and I can see her wearing that little dress and the shoes and her hair done out, and it's this big huge smile on her face, and we're going to church and she's so happy and she's interacting and she has no care and worry in the world, and I'm holding her hand, and it's healed a part of me in the present that I didn't know needed healing back then. And I tell her like, oh my goodness. And you know, when I was growing up, my parents separated, and I had to live with relatives, and a lot of times I didn't have my own space, and I was always surrounded by so many people. And I grew up and I have my own home now, and I get to have my own private space and my own, you know. And I tell her like, oh my God, look, we don't have to share a bedroom, we don't have to do this, we don't have to do that. And I can see this big huge smile on her face, and I know that it heals her. But then I've realized lately there's the inner child, but there's different phases of you. And now I want to move to like my inner teenager.
That's so funny, because I was literally just thinking about that. I've ignored my teenager.
Exactly. And I'm noticing there's so many changes that was happening around that time, the insecurities, and I didn't understand. And I'm now starting to consciously go back and say like, oh girl, it's fine. This is normal. The changes that you're experiencing are normal. I know you're feeling different. I know you're doing this, but it's normal. And I now want to focus on the inner teenager. And then once I'm done with that, I want to go to my early adulthood. Me, because that was also a really difficult period. It wasn't difficult in the sense of, it was difficult because I became a mom at a very young age. I was 23 when I had my daughter. And I remember thinking like, they let me go home with a whole human being, like no manual, no, you know, it's like the whole world just
so mind-blowing to think about.
On, and my whole entire life and reality and worldview had changed. You know, I mean, I loved my daughter and I was really in love, but I just kept thinking, like, how did they allow me to leave the hospital with a whole human being, and I'm in charge of them, you know? And so, but I got into it, but I realized there's also a part of me then that needs healing and reassuring that, you know, you might not know what you're doing, but it's okay. And 11 years down the line, you're going to look back and think, you know, you actually actually did okay. And so there's all those versions of me that I want to get back to and reassure them that it actually works out.
Yeah.
It's not going to be easy, but it does work out. Yeah.
It's so funny. Like I've been thinking about my teenage self. I haven't thought about my like early adult self, but like that is such a good idea. But I saw this quote on Instagram that my inner child is seeking safety and love. My teenage self wants revenge. My adult my adult self wants peace.
Yes.
Right? And freedom. So I was thinking about my teenage self, and I was like, oh my gosh, I've actually ignored that part of me. And I think like it deserves some reassurance and love. Because like what happens when we're teenagers, there's a lot that's happening. You're trying to fit in with like people, and you're masking because you need to mask for survival.
Exactly.
The amount of masking that you do like in order to survive, there's nothing wrong with masking, right? Like you realize how much you masked, of course, when you go through, especially you go through the dark night of the soul, because you kind of identify with those identities maybe you formed in your teenage self, right? And then when you're shedding all of that, there's a disillusionment where you realize that I'm no longer any of this. I was never any of those identities that I identified with. So my teenage self had to mask a lot. I had to mask a lot. I was numb. I was masked. I was just operating in order to survive. And there's nothing wrong with that. You need that at some point as a human. It's like a necessity, I think. But when you start to evolve and grow spiritually, you realize that you are not that. You're larger than that. You are more than that. But like my teenage self did not stand up for herself. And like that started went for years where like I was in a victim ward. I was like in the shadows of people, right? Because I didn't realize my power, right? But now I'm like, I need to go and just tell her
reclaim
that power and reassure her because she needs that. And I think like it's definitely something that I'm gonna be just visiting like in the next like few months, whatever. Just like I want to bring every part of me home.
I love that.
Like because I did
love that.
I did that recently where I guess I've focused on my inner child a lot, like because of course like there's a lot that happens when you are a child, because at least as a teenager you can say like, okay, like I understand things, and maybe you've started like your frontal lobe is slowly developing. Like it's so far
not fully formed, but it's starting to develop.
It's slowly. So like the reason why the child has like literally no capacity at all to understand, and they take everything in. Literally, they make it about themselves. Like everything that happens, whatever you do, it's about me. I'm the one who caused it. You make it personal, and that is why like it's so important. And I guess I've focused so much on that because of like the damage that's done to the young mind. And when the programming starts. But like my inner child, my teenage self also deserves to be brought home.
Absolutely,
I've brought a lot of my inner child home.
Absolutely,
I need to bring my teenage self home. And like all the fragments of you, like you were saying, like all these fragments, you just visit them and bring them home. That is what integration is about.
Exactly.
They're all parts of you.
It's parts work, basically.
Parts work, because like sometimes when you're triggered, sometimes it's your inner child that's triggered. Sometimes it's your teenage self that did not stand up for themselves that's triggered.
There's different parts and different
like what
aspects.
age? Like when you're doing parts work, some of the things that you do, it's like, okay, when you visit that part of you that's triggered, how old do you think? How old does that part of you feel? Right? And then you understand like, okay, maybe I did not stand up for myself in this interaction that I had with you, right? And that I got triggered. The part of me that got triggered is the teenage self that did not stand up for themselves when I was a teenager. So she's like 13, she's 14, right? And then I'm like, okay, I go back and like, I bring her home. And you integrate because you're a whole person, and these are all like parts of you.
And sometimes it doesn't even have to be like a younger version of you. Sometimes it could also be just specific situations. Because sometimes I think the situations that happen could either be in the workplace, it could be with a partner in a relationship, it could be with a friend, and you're like, you go back in your mind and you're having this conversation and you're like, you know what, if I could go back, this is what I would say, this is what I would do. And I think we're meant to do this continuously. over and over and over again. Because sometimes, I don't know if this has ever happened to you, if I'm in a conflict with someone or there's a particular situation, I constantly go back in my mind and I'm like literally having a shower and I'm like, this is what I would have said, this is what I'd said. And I'm having a full-blown, either it's a conversation or an argument in my head. Why did I not say this? And I can see myself back there like, this is what I should have said. This is what I would have.
That sounds like a teenage self being revengeful.
Yeah, but then sometimes in the moment,
right.
either you freeze or you don't have the right words or you were caught off guard. And I think when we're doing that, it's us going back and correcting that situation. And I like to think
you
in my
correct it
head,
for yourself,
for yourself,
that's all you need
your
to
reality.
do.
You can't change anyone else's reality, but you can change your own
yourself,
reality.
yeah.
And I think that when I go back and I actually say what I would have wanted to say in that
helps.
moment, it helps me now in the present moment. And so that's what I want to focus on. It could be specific situations. It could be me as a teenager. It could be me as a child. It could be me last week in a conversation that I had with my boss. And in that moment, I couldn't say anything. But then I come back and I correct it and I have the conversation. And it's those, because that's where we leave little fragments of ourselves.
Yeah.
And over time, you're so fragmented, you're not able to operate wholly and fully in the present
if you're
moment.
not integrating
Yeah.
them.
But when you go back, I think Neville Goddard calls it, do you know the word that he uses? It's like a correction. Oh, sorry, I can't remember the actual name, but he says it's like correction, where he says if you had an experience or you had a conversation or something happened, you go back, even write it down.
Oh, is it revision?
Revision.
Yeah.
The art of revision.
Yeah, revision.
Go back.
You change the story.
Change the story.
Change the story and how your perception.
Exactly. Your perception
Absolutely.
of it. Go back.
That's how you heal.
Have either the conversation, journal it, write it down, write it out in the way you wish it played out.
Yes.
And then come back in the present moment and continue as if
that is how it played
happened.
it. That you just accept it,
Yes.
you move forward,
Yes.
nothing else. This
And
is how
he
it
says,
played it.
You know, in the book, because I remember when I was reading, The Art of Revision, and he says, like, in instances where he did it, literally when he believed it and went back and felt the emotions and lived it, it would show up in his external reality, and he would see that person at the next time, and the situation is like as he
remembered it and
remembered it and
revised
created
the
it and revised it,
Yeah.
because he literally went into that reality and not the other reality.
Yeah, because you know
Yeah.
what we tend to do is we just accept whatever happened as if we don't have the power.
No, you're the creator
Yes.
of your. Everyone else is living in your version of reality.
Yes.
And so it's the version of reality that you choose to create
Yes.
that actually plays out.
Yes, absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah, because I think we don't realize how much power we have, and we've talked about this before. Like, we give our power away to people.
Yeah.
You know, whatever interaction you had, you didn't like it, whatever, but you just like, oh my gosh, whatever. But you victimize yourself,
Exactly.
right? But then when
Yeah.
you take your power back, even if like it doesn't get resolved with that person, like it's great if it's resolved. You have a
But if it's
conversation,
not,
it's
then
resolved.
that's fine.
But if it's not, how can you resolve it yourself?
Yeah.
Forgive, revise,
Yes.
and then embody like the
Yeah.
new and assume that that's
Yeah.
what happened.
Yeah.
And I really love that. I actually haven't done revision work. Like it's not something that I've practiced, but I've practiced the forgiveness and the owning of my power back.
Yeah.
But it kind of like I haven't like journaled down
it, yeah.
or being like, okay, this is how it played out, or this is how I wish it
Yeah.
could have played out.
Yeah.
But what I do is I go back and I let go of that
You let
situation.
go,
I'm like,
yeah.
okay, like I don't have to think about this
Yeah.
thing. I forgive that version of me that showed up that way. She didn't have the knowledge or the capacity or the information to be able to
You did the best
do
that you could
what I
at that
needed to
time.
do. But
Yes.
now, like, you know, I'm more aware. I have
Yeah.
more knowledge. I have more capacity. I can hold that discomfort. I can heal that
Exactly.
part,
Yeah.
and I can let go. And it doesn't have to have any power over me.
Over you.
I don't have to be a victim
Yeah.
anymore.
Yeah.
Right? But I think like it's the same thing. I think it's like using different language
words, yeah.
and using different techniques.
Exactly.
But yeah, I don't think I've read that Art of Revision, but like it sounds
Please
like
find
something
it.
that I
Neville
need to read.
Goddard, The Art of Revision. And I
Yeah.
love what you just said, because my little mantra that I like to do is whenever I'm triggered by something or I remember something that's unpleasant, I have this thing that I say, it's like I forgive it all, even if I don't know who or what I'm forgiving. I don't need to know it, I don't need to understand it, but I forgive it all. And I simply just allow it to be. But then that doesn't mean that I don't feel what I'm meant to feel right now.
No,
I feel
you feel
what
it.
I'm meant to feel.
Yeah.
If I'm angry at you, I'm angry at you.
Yeah.
From this, and I feel those emotions, but then continuously in my mind, I keep saying, I forgive it all, even if I don't know who or what I'm forgiving.
Yeah.
Because sometimes we only see our version of reality, but multiple realities exist at the same time.
Most times we see our version of our reality.
Version.
Most of
And
times,
I always tell myself, my version is valid. Your version is valid. Everyone's version is valid. We're all just looking at the same thing, different angles, different views, different traumas. It depends on what angle you're looking at it from. And we're all right.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Everybody is right.
Absolutely.
You know, and so I've let go of that needing to be, I'm right, they're wrong. I'm like, you know what? We're all right. We're just seeing it from different angles and different versions.
Yeah.
And so that mantra sort of like helps me to be like, you know, I forgive it all, even if I don't know who or what I'm forgiving. You know, whatever feeling or emotion that you're having, it's in you. You're living it.
Yeah.
And it's not about the other person. Because if I'm feeling resentment, if I'm feeling anger, I'm carrying it, not you. And so for me, I always like to say, I'm releasing it. It doesn't mean that I'm letting you get away with what you've done. It doesn't also necessarily mean that I need to keep you in my life. I could forgive you, let it go, know that it's the behavior that I don't like. It's not that I don't like the person, but also having like proper boundaries. And it's like, I forgive you, yes. I'm not carrying it, but I also do not want you in my life.
Right.
I mean, I would not want you
or set more
around
boundaries,
me, or
so
just
be
set,
like I'm only interacting you in this ways, in certain ways.
Yes.
You set boundaries,
and there's certain either conversations or discussions that I'm not going to have with you, or there's certain, you know, or just that, and you need to have proper boundaries.
Yes.
It's part of spiritual hygiene.
Yes.
Because you can't allow everything to be around you, because then it slows you on your journey. If you're constantly having to heal, it does slow you down on your journey. So when you forgive, it does not mean that you're being a walkover, that you're allowing that person to do what they want. You're simply forgiving and then moving forward as necessary with the necessary boundaries.
It's for you. You know, like even forgiving other people as well, it's the same thing as forgiving yourself, right? Or like you also need to forgive yourself, right? I was doing some mirror work around, I want to say April, March, where like a whole month I would say a mantra of like, I forgive you, the version of me. And in fact,
is that the Louise Hay mirror work?
It wasn't Louise Hay. I think it was either Lisa something. Lisa
Nichols.
Lisa Nichols. Yeah. So I wrote like a whole, like different prompts, and I would go back and forgive. And especially I think, earlier I was saying that I ignored my teenage self, but I think like that mirror work was even like, I was thinking about like my teenage self towards like my early adulthood. I would, every morning I would go back and be like, I forgive you for not standing up for yourself. I forgive you for all of those times you didn't stand up for yourself. Every single morning I would say that.
Was it emotional? Did you experience
in
all
the
the
beginning?
feelings
In the beginning, because you go back, you're feeling those emotions, and then it gets easier as you go. But in the beginning, for sure, because you go back and you look at all those times that you were in a victim state, you were in somebody's shadow, you were not owning your power, and how painful it was to exist in that, knowing where you are now, like as this powerful person, right? And you cannot imagine that you existed, that a version of you that embodied and walked on earth as that victim existed at one point. But that is just life, where like at certain moments in your life you had a mask, but because it was a mask, I was not in my power, right? And but so I had
the truth of you.
I had to go back and be like, I forgive you. I forgive you for not standing up for yourself. I forgive you for all of those things. And I would say that every single morning. And I love you. And I would say that I did it for 30 days straight. I would wake up, the first thing I would do was that.
How did it feel afterwards? Lighter?
It's not like you feel the effects immediately, but something shifts within something you. Really shifts, because it's like forgiving. Like, remember when I was talking about like bringing your fragments, different fractions back home? That part of the work is like in order for you to forgive, that part of you feels like it's accepted. When you forgive, it feels like, okay, like you see me, you forgive me.
It's practicing self-love.
Yeah, self-love.
Because a lot of us, and self-acceptance, because I think a lot of us go through life denying love for ourselves and shaming ourselves. Like, why do I feel this way? Why did I not stand up for myself? Why did I do this? Why did I do that? And I see it in myself, even in my day-to-day life. And nowadays what I've started doing is practicing the art of gratitude. And gratitude is, even when I'm not in my power, even when I've reverted back into, for example, a victim mode in a situation, and I tell myself, you know what? I'm aware that I'm operating in a version of myself that's not in their power.
Right.
I'm aware of it.
Right.
That awareness is important, because there would have been a time when I would have been in that state and I was not aware.
You identify with it.
Exactly. Yeah. So the fact that, yes, I'm in this state, yes, I'm feeling powerless right now, yes, this is what I'm doing, but I'm aware that I'm doing it.
Because I think what you're saying is like you are aware, because you're watching yourself as the director, writer, and creator of the movie. Yeah. You're watching yourself because you're an observant, right? You're watching yourself and you're like, it's a game.
Yeah.
And I can watch myself do this. I'm an actor. I'm not identified with it.
Yes.
Because you're creating the story as it goes, and you know that, like, in the beginning of the movie or in the middle of the movie, sometimes like the character goes through a lot where they're making like bad choices, whatever, and then they have a character arc, right?
Yes.
So it's like, it's part of the story, it's part of the journey. So you're aware that it's a game and you can observe it.
Yeah.
I think like that awareness and not identifying with is so important.
It's really,
it's
really
one of the
important.
things that Eckhart Tolle talks about.
Yeah.
He's like, the moment you're aware of something, even if like right now you don't like what is happening,
you can change it.
Yeah, you don't like whatever is playing out in front of you, as long as you're aware of it,
you can change it.
You're seeing it, you're not identified with it.
You're not identified
that
with
is so important.
Yeah. And for me, I always say, I'm aware that this is what is happening, and I might be in it for a while, but then the fact that I'm aware knows that I can change it.
Yeah.
Down, along the line, I can make different choices, I can change, I can shift this, because I'm aware that I'm not operating in my power or as I should at this time. I think the danger zone for me is when I'm in it,
identified with it,
and I'm identified with it, and I think I've become it, and I don't know that this is what's happening.
Yes.
So I practice gratitude for those moments when I feel like, oh God, I'm not operating in my power at the moment. And sometimes it's so helpless because the situation in that moment does not allow you to shift it immediately. And so I have a lot of compassion and forgiveness and love for myself as I go
as you navigate
through it,
whatever story arc that is playing at the moment. Yeah.
Even when I'm telling myself, oh, this is out of my control and I can't do, that's never true. But sometimes in the moment we feel like it's out of my control.
It sounds like acceptance to me. Honestly, it sounds like radical acceptance to me. It's like, okay, this is what's happening to me, and I'm aware, like, okay, this is what I'm doing and I need to do because that's what I'm able to do right now.
Exactly.
That is literally acceptance. And I think it's so beautiful, it's so deep, and people don't understand that. That is a deep way, because you're accepting what is in front of you and what is happening to you, and you're moving in accordance to like what is within your control in terms of like resources and whatever, like you're able to see in the moment.
And just allowing it to play out.
You're not
because
resisting,
sometimes
right?
we're in situations where literally, let's face it, in the human experience, somebody else does have the actual power and they're calling the shots. And it's in a situation where you can't do anything about it. If, for example, you're in a work environment and you get fired or a redundancy is announced, you're in that moment, you're not a decision maker.
Right.
The only thing you can do is accept it, and then how do I deal with it afterwards?
Out.
So in that situation, in this physical reality, somebody else does hold the power and they are making the decision, and it is out of your control. I mean, we know spiritually we're in control, we probably choose to have that experience, all of that. But when you're having it, in the human experience, somebody else does have the power and they are calling the shots. It's how you choose to deal with what happens that's in your control.
Right.
And so that's what I've learned, you know, how to navigate through it.
Yeah.
And to sort of like, just accept and be like, okay, this is happening and this is, you know, I can't do anything about it now, but what do I do afterwards?
Right. Because I think like we like to, did you hear the ding?
It's my phone.
Oh, okay. So I was like, I didn't want to interrupt you. So
No,
I was like,
I had it.
Okay,
I had
great.
it, yeah.
Because I want to make sure that it's not anything to do with this.
No, it's my phone.
But I was going to say that like a lot of us like to think that we have control of external situation, and that's why a lot of people suffer. Because you're trying to control, like, oh my God, it shouldn't happen, or like, oh my gosh, something else should be happening, and you're resisting a lot. And in that resistance, that's when you suffer, because you're not radically accepting what is happening.
Exactly.
Because like what you have control over is things that are within your sphere of influence, right?
Yeah.
But like what you were giving an example of, like layoffs or whatever, that is not something that's under your control.
It's not under your
control. You're not the boss. You don't. Maybe it's a budgetary thing, whatever. Like it's not within your control.
Yeah.
And the moment you radically accept that this is happening, then like, okay, like if this is happening, it's okay. I don't like it. You don't have to like it.
You don't have
You
to
don't
like
have.
it.
You can be angry. You can be sad about it. You don't have
need
to like
feel
it.
the emotions that you're meant to be feeling in that moment.
Yeah.
And I think there's a word that people love to use nowadays, and it's spiritual bypassing or toxic positivity, where, oh no, it's meant to be. No, I always say feel what you're meant to be feeling in that moment.
Yes.
It's happening for you to feel that, to process it, for you to move through you. And that's why we have a whole range of emotions as human beings. We're sad, we're happy, we're grieving, we're this. We're meant to experience all the ranges of emotions, and we're not meant to be happy all the time. You know, you're not shifting when you are. It's good to have an internal peace that's constantly there, but then you are meant to experience your emotions.
Yeah, because this thing just happened.
Exactly.
This thing just happened.
And that's how a lot of people end up with a lot of trauma, because they don't process what's happening. They're sort of like, oh, okay, that's fine.
Or like even when you're in resistance, you don't process. It's
you
not
don't
processing.
process, exactly.
It's, when you're like, this shouldn't be happening, that is not processing.
But when you allow it, when you feel it, you actually move through it faster. And then you're not years down the line going back and saying, oh, you know, this happened to me and and now you're starting to process it and fix it then.
Yeah.
If you actually are in the present moment and you feel exactly what you're meant to feel and you process it, then you once you move on from it, you've moved on. You don't need to go back to process it again.
Yeah, completely. Yeah, like going back to what you were saying about like, you're accepting things as they're happening, you have no control, you can observe like, okay, I'm doing this, all of these things, they're not within my control. I like to think that, because you know you're acting, I like to think that we are method actors.
That's true.
That we are method actors, and we don't know that we are method actors. You don't know that you're so absorbed. You know something about, you know method acting, right?
I do, yes.
You literally become the you become the character. You become the character. You're so fully in the story that like years after the role, years after the movie, you're still
that
trying
character.
to get out of that character, right? But that is literally what we're doing
because
in this
you became
lifetime.
so identified.
Yes,
with
we so identify with this character, this suit, this what is it called? The Avatar. Have you watched that? There's this series on Netflix. I forget what it's called.
I haven't watched it, but I'm aware of like the Avatar. And all that.
Like you're so identified with this avatar. You're identified with the character. You fully absorb. You identify with it. You're like, this is my story. And then once you identify with, like, how can you get out of that? Like if you're method acting, it takes a lot of years and a lot of work to undo that.
Get out of it.
And that is why the awareness work is so important. Like if you can be aware, start building awareness so that you're able to be like, okay, I don't like what is playing in front of me. But I'm seeing it. I'm not absorbed in it. I'm not identified with it. That is how you change. You can't change if you're in it. Like if you're fully absorbed. If
you're fully identified.
Like how are you gonna like you're like, oh, this is me. Like it's not changeable. Right? But when you're like, okay, it's separate from me. I can choose to write a different story. I can choose to change the script. I can choose to have a character act like at the middle of the movie, and the rest of the movie I'm gonna live as a different.
detachment.
Yeah.
You can be in it, but not of it. Yes, I think it's even in the Bible. Like there's a verse in the Bible where Jesus said, like, you can be in the world, but not of the world.
I've heard of it.
It is.
I've
So
heard of
it's
it.
just the art of detachment. You're here, you're experiencing it, but you're not identified with it. You're literally just here on a ride, as a witness, as an observer, as a character.
Oh, I love being an observer. Let me tell you, I love being an observer. It's so funny. Like sometimes I'm in my bed, even this morning, and like this is something I've done before, where like I just take the seat of the observer, like the higher self. I'm like up there. I'm like, oh, what a little Bamzi is doing on her bed. She's watching a TikTok, and like it's so fun. Let me tell you, it's so fun because you're like, okay, like this is. I am not judging myself for watching TikTok, you know, and just scrolling. I'm observing. I'm like, oh, look at that. Look, she's laughing at that joke, and like, you know, I like observing myself and being like
the observer.
Oh, yeah.
I think that's a really fun way to live life. It's a really fun way to, because that you don't take anything seriously.
We don't realize, but you are an observer. You've never left the seat of the. Sometimes you leave the seat of the. Only time you leave the seat of the observer is when you fully identify with this. As we were talking about the human character, the avatar, then you fully left. And have you read The Untethered Soul?
Sorry, the what?
The Untethered Soul.
No.
Oh my gosh.
Yet.
What?
Not yet.
You need I'm kidding, not right now. But you need to read The Untethered Soul. It's my favorite book of all times.
Okay, I'm gonna have a look at it.
It's the similar concepts as like The Power of Now, but like, you know, Eckhart Tolle is very like in the beginning. Michael Singer.
Okay, Michael Singer.
So, because a lot of people, like in the beginning, they might struggle with Eckhart Tolle. Like when I first read Eckhart Tolle, like in 2019. 2019 is the first time I read The Power of Now. Of course, it blew my mind. Of course, that was the beginning of my like awakening journey, I want to say. That was the beginning of me realizing like, oh wait, I'm not my thoughts. Literally, that was the beginning. I used to fully identify with my thoughts. I was identified with whatever story playing in my head, my thoughts, whatever. I was method acting, fully identified. When I read The Power of Now, I was like, oh wait, I can sit here to observe my thoughts. Of course, it wasn't like, oh, immediately it was like all sunshine and rainbow. That was just the beginning. That was just the beginning. My gosh. It was just like,
I would want to go back to the ignorant me then sometimes. I don't want to, but sometimes I'm kind of like
the peace and freedom I have, I would not trade it for anything. I'm not kidding.
I don't know.
I would not.
Sometimes I want to go through life with the ignorance.
You always say that. You always say that, and I always challenge you. I'm like, that is not true.
I mean, I know it's not true, but there are times when I'm like, you know what? I really, you know, that saying.
Is it coming from like, you know a lot, that you know the illusion that like you are like, how do I exist knowing this is all an illusion?
Exactly.
Okay. Yes. But anyway, going back to the story. So like, of course, I was mind blown reading Power of Now and understanding that I'm not my thoughts. I can disidentify with. It was just the beginning, right? And you know, after that, I of course started reading books and whatever, entered my journey, whatever, and that really helped me. But I read The Untethered Soul last year. And I feel like it's funny because, of course, I had read The Power of Now, I had read New Earth, I had read all these books that helped me disidentify, whatever. But I feel like the Untethered Soul unlocked another level. And I don't know if it's his writing style because it's similar concepts. And I don't know if it's like the way he writes or because I had progressed in my spiritual journey or I had done like more work, or you know, because the deeper you go, whatever book you read, it's gonna resonate much deeper. And I know that I needed to read The Untethered Soul when I read it, because when you are ready, the teacher will show up. And so of course, when The Untethered Soul showed up, it just like felt like it was so deep that I consider it my favorite book. Before The Untethered Soul, it used to be The Power of Now. So The Untethered Soul, because he talks about how you are an observer. And how of course, when you are identified with when the thought comes and you're like, okay, you believe the thought, you believe the story that it's telling, and you identify with it, then you've left the city of the observer, right? You've completely left. But if you're able to sit and watch it as it comes and relax, like if it's a fearful thought, can you relax into the seat of the observer? Like never leave the seat. Like he emphasizes never leaving the seat of the observer. But like you should read it. I'm telling you should read it. Of course, like I'm doing it injustice in terms of explaining what he talks about.
Yeah.
But like it's one of the, like it's the best for me. It's still the best book that I've ever read for now. But like the way that he goes through like different concepts about like this human experience and navigating it. Like he has a way of like writing that just like resonated so deeply with me that I just hold it so, like when I remember that soul, I'm just like I love that book so much, and I'm gonna reread it at some point.
Reread it again. I think it's because you were meant to read it at the
when
time
I read it.
when you read it, and you just resonated with his experiences and what he, how he describes the awakening process, the whole thing.
And he was on a he was on a podcast interview with Oprah, and he was sharing his journey. He wrote The Untethered Soul when he was being investigated, and his company, like he was, I don't know, doing some software, computer work, whatever. He was being investigated. His company was being accused of like fraud or like different illegal, illegal activities and whatever. And he was able to just sit in the seat of the observer and let things play. Of course, he wasn't guilty. Like someone else in the company was guilty. But he was just like relaxed because he awakened in the 70s, and this was happening like in the 90s or 20s or 2000s or whatever. So he was just like observing and like letting it, like he didn't identify with the story that was playing.
Happening. He just allowed it to play
I was so amazed that I was like, what? And Oprah was shocked. She was like, you did what? You wrote Untethered Soul during that time, and you never left the seat of the observer. And I just was so amazed by his embodiment of what is like teaching and
I mean that's what it's supposed to be about, right? You're literally just supposed to observe, not be identified with the story that's playing out. A lot easier said than done, but that's ideal. But a lot of times I think as we go through our day-to-day lives, we forget and we become identified.
That's what we're supposed to do, and that's what's supposed to happen. Like remember guest Regina last week was talking about how like you are God playing every character, and how like you come on this earth having forgotten everything. Single thing, having forgotten
by design. It's supposed to be that way.
You when you're like up there, you sign a soul contract. You're like, I was watching this creator telling this story. It's like she was saying like, when you're signing a soul contract and then you're having that, with your guides, with other souls, you're like, okay, so you are you sure you want to go to Earth? Yes. Are you sure you want to go and forget everything? You want to forget that you're source?
Yes.
You want to forget that you're abundant?
Double yes.
You want to forget that you are everything? That you have everything?
Because in that
you agree to that? Are you
awareness
sure?
state, you're like, I want to experience
Even
it
if
all.
I tell you that you're going to go through pain and you're going to cry, you're going to hate contrast.
Yes.
And then you just agree to all of those things. You're going to be born into like, I don't know, poverty or a country that has war, and like you agree to all of these things. And then you come and you forget. You forget that you are everything. You forget that you have everything. You forget that you are source. And then, then you're supposed to remember the whole journey of you navigating this human experience is because you were born as a baby. As a baby, as she was saying, as a baby, you come knowing everything, because baby kids, they don't talk. They don't talk, but the energy
on the other side of the realm than on this side.
And because they don't talk, they are connected to the other side, because what they use is their feelings, which is what we're supposed to use. Do you know we're supposed to operate with our intuition and our our feelings and the sensations? But we operate with our thoughts. So babies, because they don't have thoughts, they can't talk, whatever. They're like in the pure essence, right? They remember everything, right? It's just that they can't tell us, right? There's no way of telling us, but they know everything in terms of like being source. And that is why they're just themselves. They're abundant. They're like they don't have to do anything to be fed. They just have to exist.
They absolutely take
they just like know their love. They know that, right? Babies know their love. Like it's not something that they have to be told, right? They start being programmed otherwise after like 2 years old or whatever. But like as a baby, you come knowing everything, and you start
the programming veil of forgetfulness.
This programming, when it starts,
yeah,
you start being eroded of everything you know, and you start being told otherwise, right? And then as you navigate your journey, then you're supposed to remember everything
the
that you knew.
7 years, kids are very aware. And they're absorbing literally everything. And then after that, it's like the veil of forgetfulness comes in. And then now they start operating in the program of what they've learned during these first 7 years. Because they say the first 7 years are the foundational years of a child.
I'm thinking of a computer being programmed for 7 years.
You're being programmed. And literally that's why they say you need to be consciously aware, and the conscious parenting thing, because the first 7 years, you're literally laying the foundation of how this child is literally going to operate for the rest of their lives. Because think about it. Right now as adults, what are we doing? Going back to heal the inner child. Going back to, it's literally the program that was set as a foundation in your first 7 years.
Yeah.
And then after that, you're now operating from that program because you learn from the adults around you, from the environment around you, and you're soaking it all in. You're just literally soaking it all in. And then from that, you operate from those programs.
And some of that is even soaking it in. It's like what the adults are telling you, but also what you're interpreting with your little mind.
With your little mind,
With your little mind, because you make everything about yourself.
Exactly.
And you take all of the programs and then you combine that with your interpretation of it. And then you navigate the world so distorted.
Exactly.
So distorted. The self you is so distorted, like so fragmented and whatever. Oh my gosh. Like I don't
because
think
they're so pure and open and aware. And that's why you're told, as your vibration raises, as you become more open, beware of the energy that you surround yourself with. Beware of what you entertain, what you watch, because you're so open and your energy is inviting and you're literally taking it all in. And when you're in that open and expanded state, you're quickly absorbing everything. So you need to be careful, because what you absorb is what you keep. And so that's what happens to kids when they're in that expanded awareness state. They absorb everything and then they operate from that programming.
Yeah, I completely agree.
And so even now in your expanded aware state, you need to be conscious and set the correct, proper boundaries, spiritual boundaries of what do I allow.
Who are you surrounding
yourself with? What are you reading? What are you watching? What are you doing? All of these things, because then it's all in your field. And you can only operate from what you're feeding yourself.
Yeah. Like, for example, like who I attract now is... It's like a compliment of like my vibration.
Yes, it's
right.
It's I was thinking
I was thinking about it. It's like how I attracted you like very recently, and then I attracted Regina. Like the people that you're attracting, it's a signal of like where you're vibrating from. It's like it's telling you a lot. And I was just thinking, I was like, oh. It's a compliment.
You can tell sort of like where you vibrating at, where you know. And I know we were speaking about like when you're on a soul level, and I'm switching topics to sort of like what you pick and what you choose, and like, oh, I'm going to experience pain, and I've started setting an intention, and I'm like, I've grown a lot and expanded a lot through pain, traumatic experiences. And now every day I wake up and I know I still go through those things, and I'm like, you know what? I would love to grow and to expand through experiences that are joyful, through experiences that are abundant, I want to grow through joy.
No, you can create that
through
yourself.
Happiness,
right?
And I'm like that timeline of growing through hardship, through grief, through pain. I don't want that anymore. I can now expand through joy, through abundance, through beautiful experiences, through having beautiful relationships. I want to grow through that.
When you say grow, what does what type of growth you're talking about? Because for me
is expansion. I mean, expansion for me happens both internally and externally. When you grow internally, automatically it shows up in your external reality. And growth for me means having different experiences. It could be spiritual, it could be physical in the material, it could be how you relate with people in your relationships. To me, growth is all encompassing and not picking just one area. It's just that all of us, we are all on different journeys, and what growth means for you may not be what growth means for me. And so I would love to expand and evolve and grow throughout my life in different capacities and in all ways.
And I believe that that's something you can accomplish because you're the creator, right? And there's this creator that I watch, and literally her whole journey now is just having fun.
Exactly.
And for me, like the way I look at it is it's like having fun is like, I don't think like you can ever get rid of contrast. I really don't believe that like contrast. I think contrast is part of life.
It's supposed
and
to
even
be there.
when it comes like in little moments, when you understand it, that it's there and it's gonna come, you're not gonna suffer. So therefore you can create, as a creator, you can create those growth expansions that you're talking about, the joy and whatever. And when contrast comes, you just let it pass, and you continue having joy and expansion and beauty and whatever. That's literally how she's designed. And she inspires me so much because like she's like, I'm here to have fun. Because once you understand, I think when I came across a woman in an interview talking about like, the earth can either be a prison or a playground.
It's your
choice. It's your choice. Like, are you going to make it a prison or a playground, right? When it's a prison, it's when you're in a victim state and you don't realize the power you have. Therefore, like, you're caged. Like, there's nothing you can do, right? Like, when you don't have power, what are you going to do? You're learning to be like, that is out of my control. You would have spiraled in the past.
I would have spiraled, but now I'm like, oh, okay, that happened, great. And I've literally just continued my day to day. Almost like, okay, that's fine. Whatever the outcome is, that's fine. But in the meantime, I'm just going to go about my life. And whatever outcome is going to come out of it, I'm simply just going to go on to the next thing. Easy,
because it's happening, life is flowing the way it's supposed to happen. You accept. Actually, that's one way. That's an indication that you've grown and expanded, because it's like a previous version of you would have spiraled after this thing happened. But now you're not spiraling. You're centered. You're regulated.
I'm okay.
That tells you that you're completely a different version of you. Because that's exactly what happened to me in January when I got laid off. Right? I told you about it when I got laid off. Like previous version of me would have done what you would do, like, oh my gosh, like, who do I reach out to get to secure like another position? What do I do? Like, what you know, trying to control things, being like, oh my gosh, I need to start applying, like frantically, being like, oh my gosh, my resume, whatever, like, who do I call? Like, oh my gosh, help me, whatever. It's a frantic energy. It's a resistance. Like, I'm resisting as if like all of these things that I'm doing are going to keep the job or, you know, replace it, right? Because what I would have done is like, okay, this is gone, I need to replace it immediately, right? This is gone, I need something, like I need, because I'm trying to hold on so much, but that is creating a lot of resistance. Even though like there's nothing I can do about it, it's happening, right? I don't like it. That is what I'm trying to control, right? But like when it happened, and in fact I was anxious 2 days leading up to that because I knew it was going to happen. But after, as it was happening, I was just like, okay, that just happened. And I was so relaxed. And I was actually shocked. In fact, I told my friend, I was like, hey, you know what? I feel like, because she knows me well, she's seen me through all these phases where like I would lose, I would cry. Like she's seen me all those phases. She knows how I used to react. So what I told her, I was like, you know, I'm telling you right now, I feel regulated, I feel calm. But you know me. I don't know if that's how I'm going to feel tomorrow. And she was like, let's just play it by ear. Let's see how you feel tomorrow. And so the next day I wake up, I'm calm, I'm regulated. There's nothing. And then she checked in because she's on a different time zone. So when she woke up, she's like, hey, how are you feeling? And we got on a call immediately. And I'm like, girl, I'm like, look at me. And I was calm and I was regulated. Because I feel like finally I understood that, you know, when you reject something that's happening, you're creating resistance, and
you stay in it longer, and you prolong the pain and the suffering for longer.
We've talked about this, like how do you know something is meant to happen? Because it's happening. So you just need to accept it. You don't have to like it, right? And for me, it's not like I liked losing my income, right? But I accepted that it happened, right? And I had reached a stage where I was like, okay, energetically, this was not aligned with me. The only reason it fell fell off, it's because it was
It was meant to. That was the end of that
aligned
journey.
with that version of me.
Yeah.
It just needed to fall off, and I accepted it.
Yeah.
And I was like, okay, what are my options? So like I'm thinking of my options, right? Because when you accept it, you can start operating from like, okay, that just happened, I don't like it, but I'm fully in. You can be in a neutral state, right? Where you're like, okay, like, yes, I don't have the power to secure another job right now. It's not like I can call that person, another person to hire me, right? If you have that power to make that call, hey, give me a job. You have that power in terms of resources, but you can be in a neutral state where you're like, okay, I don't have power. This neutral thing that just happened. Okay, so what are my
next?
choices?
Because it's
what
neutral.
next?
It's the meaning that
It's
you assign to
neutral.
it.
It's the
It's
meaning
neither
that you're
negative
assigned
nor
to it.
positive.
Yeah.
You're the creator. So
Yes.
you decide what
you decide
meaning
what
that
meaning.
you assign to
Because
it.
it's nothing.
It's
means
meaningless.
anything.
It's meaningless.
If there's one thing
You
need to
assign
know,
the meaning.
yes. Yeah. When I
Yeah.
actually when I found out that like nothing means anything.
Yeah.
You're the one who assigns meaning.
Exactly.
There's power in that.
Yeah.
But there's also a sad part of me that felt sad in the
know.
beginning, right? Where I'm like, oh, like I've been assigning meaning this whole time. Every single time something
and
happens.
You can choose.
Yeah.
You can choose.
And sometimes I feel like we assign a negative meaning.
Yeah.
Thinking that that's gonna because I feel like it's so easy to be in a victim state, and we tend to do that
because
more.
our brain believes
That is, it's
something
protecting
negative
you
faster than something positive. Think about it. They always say if you have 10 positive experiences and one negative experience,
you focus on the
we
negative.
focus on that one negative. If you post something online and you have thousands of positive comments and then
You
there's
focus.
that one negative comment, you focus on it and you spiral based on that. We're simply just conditioned to focus more on the negative than on the positive. It's human nature.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Because we forgot everything. We forgot that we are abundance. We have power and whatever.
Exactly.
Right. So all those 9 things, which are the source, the abundance, or whatever, you're meant to remember to go back to that.
Yeah.
But then you tend to be the human
And
who
then
just
we
remembers
forget.
this one
Yeah.
thing.
Okay.
Oh, what a lovely,
Wrap up.
juicy conversation! Like we could go on forever, but
We
I think
could.
we've been recording for like over an
I
hour
know.
now.
Yeah.
And of course, because we love having these conversations, we're both growing. We're
Yeah.
both trying to embody lessons. We're trying to expand. It's not easy. We like saying that.
It's not easy. It definitely is a roller coaster, but I love being on this roller coaster.
Yeah. The thing is, like,
not every day.
Yeah, we were talking about earlier how like
Yeah.
every single time you're experiencing contrast, you're experiencing resistance. It's so painful to go through it. But when you come on the other
Afterwards.
side, you see why that contrast was happening. You see
Yeah.
why that painful thing was happening. It's because you're releasing,
Yeah.
right? So I think like if you're on this journey, if you're navigating like a difficult moment, what we would like to say to you is just accept what is presented in front of you. You
Yeah.
don't have to like it. And when we say you don't have to like it, we mean that like feel the emotions that you're feeling because this thing just happened,
For
right? If
sure.
it's grief, if you lost somebody, like it's a relationship, of course you're feeling pain, right? Like feel it, right? You don't have to like it, but know that it's already happened, right? So just accept it, accept that it happened, and then see like how can I heal and move on from this thing, right? I hope this inspired you, and if you really like this conversation, we would love to hear your feedback. Leave us feedback on Apple, on Spotify, comment on YouTube, like and subscribe, and we will be back next week for another juicy and conscious conversation.
Yeah. Until then,
We will
we'll
see you on the next one.
one.
We hope today's conversation resonated with you, brought you a sense of clarity, and maybe even challenged you to reflect further on your healing and spiritual journey.
If it touched something in you, would be so grateful if you left us a 5-star rating on Apple or Spotify. And if you're on YouTube, share your thoughts in the comments. We'd love to hear your reflections or suggestions for future topics.
You can find our socials and email in the episode description. We always love hearing from you. Until next time, take gentle care of your soul, mind, and body.